It's Mini Takes podcast time. That's Austin. I'm Shane. On today's show, Space Marines got swole. Legendary proxies. More is better in 40k. We revealed the cheapest place in the world to buy terrain. We played a game of bolt action. The XCOM miniatures game saga continues. And I won 11th edition. Mini Takes podcast.
Look, if I open up your painting tutorial and the first step is getting out an airbrush, buddy, I'm not watching.
Bunch of nerds on the internet. Are you even having fun with this anymore?
Shane, if this happens, there's going to be wailing and gnashing of teeth, people burning their armies.
If you can't see it, don't paint it. Austin, we've got a big show today. We had a whole entire different topic cooked up, and then the world stopped turning.
And then Games Workshop decided to drop us on our head and completely upend this show. I about had a spit take seeing that news.
It's crazy.
Yeah. What's the news?
The news is that the Orc Codex is coming out. Has been revealed. People have seen it. And most everybody is like, well, that's going to be busted until some more codexes come out. Like super cracked, our 10th edition minds, our 10.5 edition, 11th edition minds could hardly conceive of a planet where that new Orc Codex would not have just been the bee's knees for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. And then your regular old Space Marines just became T5 Strength 5.
Oh, yeah, ridiculous.
What? They can shoot their bolters two kinds of ways, and one of them's damage too. Just more. More is what they'll have. But we're going to talk about that. Over on Room for Future Nonsense, it says, for best results, listen on Spotify. If you're on Spotify, welcome. Glad to have you. If you're watching us over on YouTube, you'll be like, maybe you're a Spotify listener. You've never checked out the YouTube. Oh, I wonder what they have over there. I bet they've got a big graphics package. No, we kind of have the one little frame. I bet they're really good-looking dudes.
At least one of us.
Yeah, I know. I always think, dang, Austin looks good today.
Don't I? Look at the shirt.
I know. Look at that hat.
Yeah.
Spotify people, go take a look, and then go back to Spotify. Someone might think, ooh, I bet they have really good cameras. No, they're poor. However, we are there. I give you guys that right off the top because somebody in the comments, which we're about to get to now, said we should get some better microphones and cameras and stuff. And microphones, probably. That one's actually on the docket. The cameras, I mean, come on.
Are you really watching us is the question? Or do you have us alt-tabbed off to the side? You're looking at Facebook, you're playing Farmville, you're doing your Candy Crush, doing whatever.
Exactly.
Are you really watching us?
Exactly. The whole reason why we even got the cameras is because we believe, and we could be wrong, that the YouTube algorithm likes there to be moving stuff on the videos. And so our heads bobble. But I want to Mini Takes wants your takes. What I mean by that is whatever you've got to say, we're going to read them. And the last two pods, couple of things, right quick. In the last two podcasts, we have, over on YouTube specifically, over on Spotify, it's still not entirely crazy land. We have begun, just the back end of things, you're allowed to make 3 titles to a video. Okay? And we have been taking one of those titles at least and titling for violence.
Ridiculous titles that no sane person would ever feel like should be titled.
They're hardly even representative of anything we're talking about.
They're vaguely antisocial.
They are. They're whatever is stupid, and you've probably clicked on this video to hear about how the Space Marines just got swole and broke 40k. It'll be something like that, right? Just a totally ridiculous thing. Here's the deal, though. This is what we've learned, and I've got some comments. Maybe I'll find them as I scroll through quick and read a few. But some of the people are like, "Here's a couple of morons talking nonsense about XYZ or complaining about this," and I could tell that they didn't listen to the pod at all. But to a man, get in the comments and let us know what it says. The last two pods we've had the word stupid in, and YouTube has almost exclusively shown the title that includes whatever is stupid, which I think is kind of stupid,
Yeah.
but that's the internet. So, here go some comments. This one comes on the last pod where we talked about, what did we talk about in the last pod? It
We
was
talked about, who
terrain
knows?
standards are stupid
Yeah.
and other titles that nobody has seen, even though they're theoretically just as likely to appear. Andrew Fishman says, "Thank you for speaking on the terrain standardization. It is the most horrible thing to happen in wargaming." Dinkosaurus Rex says, "Shane calling in from the Loveline Reject couch. Anime is for weebs. True. If you aren't making some of your terrain, you're missing out on better storytelling. And we need more Austin." I agree, we do need more Austin. Oh, here it is. Magic Ezville says, "More whining children complaining that they don't get their way." But we do get our way. Dissaris says, "My first time finding y'all's show, and I mostly collect minis for fun and enjoy the old lore. I've played some skirmish games of other war games, but part of the fun and challenge of things is being on a battlefield. That's the point, is that a battle isn't always going to be even or fair. You've got to adjust your strategy to the situation and layout of the field. When I do start playing 40k, my army is going to be a Khorne demons, which isn't optimal in any way from what I know, but that's what I wanted to use, and I think it's fun and interesting to figure out ways to succeed against the odds with my list." And Desaris, you have got it figured out.
That sounds totally reasonable.
That is a totally reasonable mini take.
Hmm.
Peggle09 says, "Also, have you seen how good the full color PLA printers are getting and those new full color resin prints? GW needs to change soon. More and more people are just playing miniature games for fun and don't care where the models flow from, just that they flow." And I disagree with that particular mini take in the strongest. I do not want to live in a world where we just print up all our stuff and there is no, because then there would be no GW and there would be no 40k where anybody makes any rules and releases anything. And then what are we going to play? I'm not going to play
one-page
one.
rules.
I'm not going to play one-page rules. Let me tell you something. One-page rules is like a non-iPhone to me. I don't care if it does my taxes and pays me when I play it. I am not going to be sending green text messages. I won't.
Here's my take on it. I will drink Sam's Cola, and I do in this economy. But if I have the option of having a Coca Cola, I'm going to take the Coca Cola. I'm not drinking the Sam's Cola.
Just like for the experience, the vibes, right?
Yeah.
One time you and I tried to make a game because we didn't know that such a game existed and thought it would be fun. It was like an alien game, like you're in space and there's the alien
Yeah.
on the ship. Not like
Hmm.
Aliens where you blast them all away, but like a horror game kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we fooled with that for 4 or 5 hours. And then in the subsequent days, as we discussed it, I found somebody that made that game. And we bought it. And it's
Yeah.
way better than what we had come up with.
Hmm.
Like, we're never going back to that idea. Why would we? I'd rather play a real game. Anyway, Audio Mech says, "Shane got his couch from the curb in front of Charlie Murphy's house." Somebody ground their boots in my couch, too. It was bad. Looks bad. Muddy. Have to whip his legs. I'm going to read a couple of comments, a few more comments from our pod before last, which did really big numbers, really big. It was really great, really big numbers.
Hmm.
Owning multiple Warhammer armies is stupid. Are you stupid? You just might be if this is you. That is the title that it chose to show people. We put that there like as a joke. It showed it to, as I sit here,
I
1,900 people.
That was me at like midnight on a Thursday when I have to go to work early in the morning, and I had a bit of contempt in me just having to do the action of titling that. So some of that bled into the final product. And for some reason, YouTube has decided that is the title. That is the title that's going to get us nearly 2,000 views on a video and
It's
blow up. And it's stupid.
it's far and away the most successful episode of the Mini Takes podcast to date. It wasn't even our best stuff. We had a little bit of heat in that episode, but we probably have better stuff in this one. And who knows? Maybe this will be big. Be sure to subscribe, folks. Um, Chicken Strips 3300 says, "Can y'all send me Tree Fitty, please?" Dun, 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 dun. Dallin7736 says, "Sounds like corporate defense using fanboy logic. The only reason multiple armies aren't viable is because of GW's greed. Let's be honest here. Calling people stupid for enjoying a hobby the way they want is the height of fanboy gatekeeping." I actually did comment to this person and said, "Yo, we put 3 titles. I don't think we said that anything was stupid in the
No,
pod, but the
no, I don't
title,
think so.
the title got some folks heated." Um, okay, that TCG says, "I have 8 armies at over 2K, 75% painted." That person is getting work in, doing work, boy. Master Baiter 069, that is Master Baiter 069. Nice. Says, "I started Warhammer in 9th edition. I now have 13 Warhammer armies and 15 kill teams. 3 of those armies are Age of Sigmar. I regret nothing." And just to touch on that a little bit, because there were a few people that were like that. With multiple painted armies. There was one particular guy, we might have read his comment last week, who has got a whole bunch of armies and um, sort of is bootstrapping 40K for his household, his friend group, etc. Which is, we talk about the concept of bootstrapping a game that you want to play, which is you don't just get your side, you get both sides, maybe
Mhm.
multiple factions, where you can mix it all up, and you're the guy that people can go to if they want to play, name a game. For me, Judge Dredd and Star Wars Shatterpoint. Anybody wants to come play? I got the stuff. And
Mhm.
that dude's doing it for 40K, which is just God's work.
Yeah, this is a lot of work and probably pretty expensive unless it's been a major kind of long-term development when prices were cheaper.
I mean, even then,
Yeah.
it'd be high. Um,
Well, I'm just going to say, since I've been in the hobby, guardsmen, a box of guardsmen has doubled. It's doubled, and then even before I got into the hobby, the box was cut in half.
it's
Used to get 20
doubled.
dudes for maybe 30, doubled because KDN shock troops back in 2019 were a box of 10 for $29. Now it's a box of 10 guys for approaching 60 now. I'd have to check the last price, but 55 to 60, I think.
Yeah, but how, just to play devil's advocate here, if you already had some Cadian shock troops, like, you're not buying any more of them necessarily, are you?
Well, no, you're not buying him. It's not me. It's other people.
You're
It's
kind
like
of saying, like,
the cost of entry. Yeah, when
on
you
the
have 10
aggregate.
guys whose job is to get leaf blowed off the table, and you're getting into playing guard, and you're like, okay, you need like 60 of these guys minimum. Then you're like, okay, well this is a lot unless you happen to get on the box sets that have like a bunch of guys thrown in.
Yeah, which is probably, I
But
mean,
anyway,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, the from scratch purchasing of a 40K army is that would be an almost interesting study or experiment to run. Like maybe to quiz our local group or something, like what did that look like when what does that look like for most people when they get into something? Because uh I bought Abaddon and a box of Chosen. That was my first 40K purchase, which is kind of crazy. And then I got the Combat Patrol, and then it's been like a piecemeal buying thing ever since. You know, because Abaddon's like, he's like 300 something points, so that's a good chunk of points. But now you got to bring your Primarch, which is kind of strange for I'm gonna play my first game. I got 750, 300 something is him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's how it looked for me. So I wonder sometimes when we get talking too much about the price of the stuff, if anybody is actually interfacing with it just like that.
You know, it was Cadians are like I think 65 points right now or somewhere around there. So they're about $1 point something per point.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no way to sugarcoat that. If your army is like $1 a point, then that's $2,000. That's
Yeah.
that's go buy a used motorcycle type stuff. But you don't have to put any gas in it.
Yeah.
Paint's cheaper than gas by like a lot. Okay, let's start a rundown, folks. Oh, one more thing. Over on our Discord, you can join the conversation. Click the link below, and it's totally free to join. So you should do that. Okay, Austin, what
Yeah.
would you do if you came across regular old Space Marine intercessors and you're like plow plow plow. I'm shooting you with a bolter. I'm strength 4, I wound on 4s, right? And I
Yeah.
said, "No, sir.
What are you talking about?
That's 5s, big dog.
Can't be.
I'm
It's been 4s forever.
I'm T5 now.
What?
I've been primarisized. I break your
I don't even know if
arm."
you've been. I don't even know if you've been primarisized. You've just been blended. They're blending it all together, just making Marines.
So, okay, so let's talk about that. I don't care that Firstborn are gone.
It's a band-aid that has been hanging off loose for the past decade, or pretty
That's
much almost a decade.
Listen. I started in 9th edition. I don't think that what were they called? Tactical Squad. I don't think.
The old one, yeah, it's
Yeah,
tactical.
yeah. The old squatty tactical squad has not been a thing that I've ever even experienced. I have no like rose-colored glasses for them or anything. I think they look crap. Obviously, they look crap in like an adorable sort of way. You know what I mean? But here's an argument that I've seen bandied about that I cannot support, which is this idea like, oh my gosh, there's no in-game representation of the most popular Space Marine thing that there is. To which I'm like, do you have eyes? Were you stricken blind like 5, 6, 7 years ago? What happened to you? Because all of the boys in blue that they've got out, that they've put out since I've been in the hobby, that they got out, the Primaris dudes, I don't care what the unit is called. That's another thing. I don't care what you call the unit. If they're blue and they got power armor, they're Space Marines. All right? They all look like Space Marines to me, folks.
No,
They do.
the armor is different, but I made a comment back on that. You're actually quoting our Discord with Panzer Man. They have this edition and last edition working with the new Terminators. They've decided to start blending together the Primaris and the Firstborn into where you can't really exactly tell what's what anymore, and it just becomes a Marine.
Yeah.
Which is what they should have done a long time ago, because they're coming out with the intercessors. Then they have bits and pieces of armor that are from older armor classes, stuff like the beaks. and the traditional Darth Vader gorilla mask.
Mhm.
So they're bringing those back to kind of like blur the lines. But I feel like I don't know. It's sad that the Squadron Marines are gone insofar as that's an institution that's now gone. But at the same time, it's been in the works forever, and if you're just now uh, crying about it, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I guess you haven't been playing the game.
Yeah, and also the new stuff is fire. Like again, I appreciate the little squatty marines in the same way that I appreciate old world models. But I don't want old world models hanging out with my modern 40K models because they look silly. And the silly is charming when they're all together, they're ranked together for old world and they're a bunch of flat one-piece dudes, right? Sometimes made of heavy metal. That's cool. But if I'm going to play 40K and any of this is going to be mixed up with any modern 40K, it's like, man, why are those guys so short? Why are they so flat? Why aren't they standing in any kind of, why are they looking more triumphant? Um, Primaris was obviously a huge misstep. The whole concept of the Primaris thing, the keyword, which, by the way, I don't think does it exist anymore in 11th edition?
No, no, they've removed it.
Yeah, it's gone because it didn't make any damn sense. Like,
All they had to do was say this is the new armor and it's true scale. That's
yeah,
it. Buy buy your guys. Yeah.
yeah,
Who cares if you're gonna have some guy rocking around proxying them with his little squatty guys? Oh well, who cares? The thing of it was they didn't want people mixing and having little guy next to big guy, and corporate marketing was like, no, we can't do that. That's a big problem. People are gonna get confused about what's going on. So it gets
so
blown
silly,
out of proportion. Yeah.
so silly. So the Space Marines are getting swole uh, for 11th edition when their Codex comes out, which I think is great. Here's why. We're going to skip legendary proxies and talk about that in a second because a lot of stuff got legend. Austin, do you have pulled up the list of legends and
I can
legendary
get that pulled
proxies?
up while you give your take on this. I have something else to say about that once you get done. I need my side given.
Sure thing. Okay, here's the deal 40K through 10th edition had all the power creep and codex creep in the world. Just like, as near as I can tell, every edition has ever been. And then we went to 11th edition, which is 100%, and I think for the best, version 10.5. So walk with me here. Now we're in version 10.5. We kept all our codexes with all the creep that has taken place. Okay? And now we're getting new codexes. And in a perfect world, what we would do is acknowledge the absolute fact that everything is way too killy. We're having to all take too much stuff in our lists. This is part of why Space Marines regular old Space Marines are now going to be T5, Strength 5, because they don't want Space Marines to be a horde army, because that's silly. Okay? Um, what would have been ideal is as the codexes come out, they were detuned. They were less aggressive in their killiness, right? But the problem is every individual, for the most part, is a monolith. Okay? It is me and how I feel inside of my meat chassis. Okay? And if
Okay.
the Chaos Space Marines Codex comes out, 6 codexes down the line, and it is less powerful compared to the previous one, the only thing that I'm going to think is, my guys got worse. I will be ignoring the fact that everybody, the orcs got worse, that Space Marines got worse, that Tyranids got worse, that all of them got worse in unison, in concert, for the betterment of the sort of feel of the game, the balance of the game, etc. Right? In a perfect world, I would have the capacity of understanding to say, well, that's okay. I lost a bunch of AP, my stuff's more expensive, however it is that the nerf hammer comes. Except that would feel bad. It's one thing when they index the whole thing from the jump and then everybody tries to figure out what's good and what's bad. We did that in 10th. We also stuck so many band-aids on 10th that I don't know how much of the 10th edition rulebook would even in any way represent the state of the game by the end. Okay? And I'm talking about like the core rules. So I'm glad that they did not do that again. However, what we are left with is the game actually has to get more killy. Because nobody wants a side grade, nobody wants a downgrade, even if everything else has been side graded and downgraded. That's not going to make people feel good about their new rules, their new options, their new army, what have you. So I think that even though it's going to feel crazy that Terminators are now going to be T6 at least, that regular old Space Marines standing around are going to be absolutely obliterating all kinds of T4 stuff. Like, Chaos Space Marines until we probably inevitably become T5 as well. Let's be honest. That's probably good for just the overall health of the game. And of course, they could point the Space Marines through the roof, The Space I predict a little time where the Space Marines look a lot like a Custodes army just for a second. Because these are about to be the best looking battle line / troop, whatever you want to call them, things ever. And so what does that mean for all the, elites who, some of which in the Space Marine Codex as it stands, are absolutely just immovable objects. Adamantine sculptures of boys in blue. You had something on that or on Space Marines Got Swole?
I guess on both now. Actually, you kind of touched on talking about the hype factor behind it, and I feel like that. I guess I'll start on the hype factor real quick since you had talked about that. The hype factor, I feel like one of the problems with the codex releases being in of themselves a product that has to be sold is they have to be bigger, they have to be better every single time to get people's money and get people's attention. So we're not going to live in a perfect world where it's like, okay, here's your codex. Your guys suck, but look, the game's healthier. We can't exist in that system.
Yeah, the customer's just not going to say
Unfortunately,
in mass, like, I
yeah,
understand.
yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Games Workshop. I understand. We'll take the hit, but for the greater good, we'll do it.
And remember, whether the hit's real or not, because the game would likely actually be better if they did that, but you can't
Yeah,
convince the individual that's getting
yeah.
like, well, Abaddon's not
Well,
really
you see
knocking
what?
knights over anymore,
Yeah.
is he? For
Well, you see what they
instance.
do? They save that for the FAQ. They put all the wow factor up front, and they're like, and then here's an FAQ where we kind of tone it down. Uh, but yeah, I will say that that's definitely a point. They can't like make the game healthier with the codex releases. Do that, and I feel like the one of the problems with this, I don't agree with this because to me, I don't agree with the changing to T5. Is what I mean to say. I don't agree with it because I feel like this is yet another stepping stone in the saga of we have to improve Space Marines because the game is too deadly. We saw that in Ninth Edition with Armor of Contempt and some of the other stuff going on with them. To what? Oh, it was the making them more killy with the rapid fire. If they're, I guess, standing still. It's been a while since I played Ninth, but they had the whole just boosting Space Marines to try to counteract how deadly the game was getting, and then you ended up with armies like Orcs and Necrons falling in the cracks, who couldn't do anything against Marines anymore. So then they had to reverse that and bring Marines back down but then the game got even more killy, so we had to bring him back up. It's a constant battle going on, and I feel like this is yet it's a new front on the battlefield because we've never seen toughness get touched before. We've seen saves and other stats get changed up, but now we've seen. Go ahead.
We did see toughness get touched in 10th edition when the toughness was expanded because toward the end of ninth, we had the vehicles starting to become so easily killed, like in melee combat,
Yeah,
because the toughness scale was small. And on that point of strength and toughness moving around, we very often talk about the possibility of 40k moving to a greater die, right? Instead of a
mhm.
d6 up to a d8, a d10, a d12, right? And the idea there is you end up with more integers to have more possible results, because if a 6 is always going to hit or wound and a 1 is never going to hit or wound, then you've only got 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Yeah, 4. I can do math. This is why it probably needs to stay at a d6, I have to say, as I count 4 numbers on my fingers. You only have 4 results that can function, and so we're limited, right? In 11th edition, we're adjusting ballistic skill a lot, and that's already causing a few issues, at least with the old codexes and the various abilities that things have, because there just aren't a whole lot of pieces that can move around. However, the strength and toughness can be a much broader system, but it has a cap as well that then ties back to the wound roll, right? So now, if I'm shooting you with strength 4 and you're T5, then I got to wound you on 5s. But if I made you T6, that doesn't actually make a difference. I'm still 5. 7, I'm still 5. Finally, 8 moves to 6s, and vice versa. So I don't know how much it's going to matter, because in a way, every time you expand the toughness some more, all you do is add more meaningless numbers in between, like the breakover points
Hmm.
change. But then that gives you more options for strength of weapons as well before those breakover points change. So that you could get a bigger number of matchups of comparative strength and toughnesses through more numbers. And I think that's probably good, because we are we are just banging up against the side of not having enough numbers to make the game feel very good. And a ton of stuff, not for nothing, is like Strength 9, which wound Space Marines on 2s. And if they're strength, if they're now T5, now those wound Space Marines on 3s again, which probably is what it should be. But as Fallout Boy famously said, this ain't a scene. It's a god arms race.
Yeah. What I feel like I feel like they need to go in the opposite direction. I feel like is what they should have done to kind of rein in this runaway arms race effect with the just Space Marines versus lethality thing going on. They should have actually regressed backwards and done a complete. They should have done a complete review over weapons versus toughness and gone, okay, our Space Marine is going to be our template for the baseline. They're not exactly baseline, but what we're kind of targeting for in our far future sci-fi war game, where it's generally super soldiers fighting each other
I always
of
say,
various types.
if the Space Marine feels good against like any other foot troop, then the thing is cooking. And
Yeah,
the
we,
problem
we should
is
have.
the problem is they haven't been. They felt
Yeah,
like
they
they
should have. They haven't felt very good, but we need to. They should have gone back and reviewed the weapons and gone, okay, and this will require some bit of creativity, which hopefully they have. Be like, okay, we're firing this weapon at a Space Marine. Does this make sense for the amount of damage it's doing? Because the way it used to be is that the toughness correlated mainly to kind of how much mass the individual has.
Yeah.
So you'd have a normal person on a 3, Space Marine 4, and then things that are larger, things like the Tyranid monsters, Bulgrin, things like that, they would be 5 and higher. Vehicles weren't a part of this. They had their own separate damage. Uh, so I feel like we should have returned to that. We should have gone back through, reviewed all the weapons, and kind of just compressed things a little bit.
I,
Maybe even return vehicles to being their own category.
I was about to say that you're hitting on something there, because if a lot of it is the issue of what is so let's take it from the player's perspective. The most important person involved in a it's my turn is me, right? Because it's my turn. You're going to roll saves, and that's like your interaction. Obviously, there's stratagems, yada yada, of my part of the battle round, and then you're going to have your part. So the shooter, or the fighter, but the shooter, because there's no shoot back. There's a fight back, but there's not a shoot back. So the shooter tends to be the one that I think we focus on. The problem, I think, is that you've got a bunch of Space Marines who need to shoot tanks. And so if we make a unit of Space Marines that can, by whatever mechanism, any kind, affect tanks in any meaningful way, then if they turn and point at other Space Marines, foot troops, etc., they just wipe them off like a leaf blower. And that sucks. Because you're right. If it's like, okay, tank round on Space Marine. So now the shooter's the other way. The tank's shooting back. Tank round on Space Marine, that feels like a hit on 3 or 4, wound on 2, damages enough, right? Because
a Space Marine should be dead, yeah.
Yeah, the Space Marine should be dead. But then you flip it to, okay, but the Space Marine has to have some way to affect the tank, or else the game doesn't feel great, because the tanks and the foot soldiers are all on the same sort of hit, wound, damage system. So there's an expectation to be able to affect them in some way, right? And then by the time you do that, it's like, okay, well now my Mastercrafter bolt weapon or whatever is hits on 2s, re-rolling, strength 5, AP 2, 2 damage, let's say. Okay. Now that a whole squad of those dudes can do something to a tank. Gonna wound on 5s, whatever, but you're gonna re-roll them all. Maybe you got +1 to wound. That's where our integer cap starts to feel wrong. And then, all right, take the tank away. Put a Space Marine shooting a Space Marine. Oh no, we messed it up. So now the tank round is effectively exactly the same as whatever the heck the Space Marine is shooting, and that's how we ended up here. But I don't think that people would accept it any other way, unless you index the whole thing again, which has its own problems.
People have been saying, I've been reading the comments, and people have said they wish that this had been an index edition if they're going to boost Marines like this, because now every other army that's not Marines are now out in the open being like, well, what's going to happen to us? Like Custodes, what's going to happen to Custodes? Or Custodes Codex is going to come out and they're going to be walking around like they're T7 now, I think. They're going to be bumped to T8.
Well, no. Because at T8, it still doesn't make any difference to what the wound roll actually is. So they might stay at T7. But listen.
Bolters would be wounding on 6s. Never mind, no, not new bolters.
Right, new bolters.
But anything else that's strength 4.
But here's the thing. This is the inverse of the problem that I said if the codexes came out and they were more tame, right? Where everybody would be like, oh, my stuff sucks. No, we're going to get the opposite happen. Where every codex is going to come out and it's going to be fire. I'd see people talking about, oh my gosh, this has just turned the Eldari and Drakari into what used to be a glass cannon is now just glass, I believe you said in an off-camera chat. And I said, oh no, I promise you, they are polishing up that cannon right now. That cannon is in the forge, and it is getting some choice nonsense attached to it. If the if the Orc Codex, and my gosh, we don't have anything for Space Marines besides that a regular old Space Marine is gonna be ridiculous. That's what we know. Your base level unit, if you play Space Marines, is gonna be ridiculous. Man, you think that all the rest aren't gonna be ridiculous? The only problem we have is that you're gonna have to wait. So you're gonna have tournament after tournament that's just a bunch of Space Marines and Orcs playing, which is kind of what they want, if we're being honest. Because here's the problem with the indexing idea. Everybody's like, I wish they just indexed it. No, you wish they had all the however many codexes there are fully finished and released all at once. That's what you want. You do not want we're doing this detachment point system and we're going to give you guys we're going to give everybody 5 of them. Get out of here. And
Oh, here,
go ahead. And the internet hive mind will have
here's the
solved the entire
yeah.
game in the first 2 days, just like they did in 10th.
You're hyping up the codexes, but here's the thing, Shane. Once the codexes are all released and we can all play together on the playground, 12th edition's coming out. There's not going to be time for us all to be playing super soldiers on the playground, Shane. We're going to have to be getting ready for the next edition.
Okay. Now, listen, we have got more rundown to get to. But all you people that wanted online rules, you're getting them. You're getting them now, aren't you? And man, they're about to. We are going to get to the end of 11th edition, just like you're saying. I hadn't even thought about this. We're going to get to the end. You're going to get your Guard and Custodes Codex on like the last day of the edition.
Yeah.
And you and I are going to show up to the game store to play a game, and you're going to open the app, and it's going to be like, and now it's 12th edition.
Yeah.
Can we go back and play 11th? We would like to get a couple games of 11th. No, it's gone. It's 12th edition app now. I hope, by the way, that somebody at GW like cares anything about anything, and they let you play the old editions on the app. That would be cool.
No, they're out in the back in Nottingham. They got the hard drive containing all the information on 11th edition. They got the drill. They're drilling into it, wiping all the data.
Brutal. Okay, let's talk about legendary proxies because this is a crock of bleep.
So we got legendary proxies, which is legendary proxies. It's a new category.
It is a
new
new category
of legend.
Okay, it is a new category legend.
That doesn't mean anything.
It means nothing. It's hey, you guys know how when stuff gets legend, you often use a model that looks like a new model for the new thing. Yeah, just do that. But they put it in the article to try to take some of the fizz out of. There are way too many Space Marine data sheets, and quite a few of them are getting put out to pasture. You've got the list. Read us the list.
So we got the legendary proxies. We'll start with that. So your tactical squads are gone from the game rule-wise, but they count as an intercessor squad. Same for Devastator squad is now a desolation squad.
That's t-shirt
Suppressor
cannon,
squad, which I had to look those up because I was like, what the heck are those? Then I in that weird starter box or combat patrol count as Inceptor squads, which they don't look the same. They're not armed the same, so it's awful strange. Pedro Cantor presumably died on Armageddon and is now a captain. And Uriel Ventress is also counting as a captain.
Yeah, those two I was kind of surprised about. Space Marines kind of
Well,
love a named
the
character,
thing with
but then they weren't.
well, the problem with Pedro and Uriel is they're both resin characters, and they're getting rid of all the resin stuff, so they haven't had an update yet for the models. So they just went ahead and killed them. Not
Yeah.
in lore killed them, but as far as being on the battlefield tabletop, they are gone.
Yeah, which I mean that part doesn't hurt my feelings too much. The tactical squad being called an intercessor squad, like yeah, everybody's been doing that. But They're calling them legendary proxies, and that is just eyewash, is what that is.
What it is sanctioned proxies. That way you can make everyone just shut up about at the tournament. Oh well, you can't actually run that because that's not what that is.
I want to know what tournament on the planet, if you brought Pedro Cantor as a captain, just anyway, like before this, like he's just your stand in for a captain. I want to know what tournament would have been like, absolutely not. There's no place in the world. They've been like, so this guy.
You cannot have Pedro Cantor on the table. That is Pedro Cantor. He is the chapter master of the Crimson Fist. He is not a captain. You can't do that.
You didn't pay the points. It will not work.
You cannot do that.
There's no such place that has ever existed in the universe. For instance, I played a game. It's at the bottom of our thing. We're going to have to talk about it next week because we're going to run out of time. There's no doubt. And I had a sorcerer, chaos sorcerer, in my list. And I picked up my chaos sorcerer that I always take because he's my chaos sorcerer. And then I said, ooh, I have recently painted all the Masters of the Maelstrom. And in that squad is a sorcerer. He's got a name. I don't know what it is, but he is quite obviously a sorcerer. He's got robes and a little staff, just like the other guy who's got robes and a little staff. You know which one I took to the game?
Which one?
The Masters of the Maelstrom guy, because I'm like, he'll get some run.
Oh, you can't do that.
He looked
You
great.
can't do that.
Ask me if anybody cared.
I care.
Well, you'd be the only one. I don't even think anybody could tell. Nobody asked. I showed him. I blamed him. I'm like, look, I did this guy recently. He was like, that guy looks really good. I'm like, thank you. So does yours. You know how you do.
Yeah.
Other stuff got legended, and
yeah, we've lost the Centurion Assault Squad, Centurion Devastator Squad. We've lost the Razorback, the Predator Destructor, the Predator Annihilator, the Vindicator, the Whirlwind, Dreadnought, Stormhawk Interceptor, Storm Talon Gunship, Storm Raven Gunship, and the Hammerhall Bunker is dead.
the
That is
Hammerfall
insane.
Bunker. Oh, rip effing chat for the Hammerfall Bunker.
Games Workshop could never figure out how to make that thing work.
Why couldn't they just make it, the Hammerfall Bunker? Why can't it fall?
Yeah.
What inspired rules writing I have presented to you. If the Hammerfall Bunker could somehow have a mechanism to fall.
Just be like, unit has deep strike, cannot move once deployed.
Yeah.
That's it.
It was so silly. I tell you what, though. I predict we see more Hammerfall Bunkers on the tabletop as terrain than we ever did in play. And that's good because I think it's a cool thing. And I promise you, there's somebody somewhere that got and owns like 3 Hammerfall Bunkers because they were like, these are awesome. Buys 3, never touches them. Now they're going to have like a good looking side of their table. But the Legends, everybody gets mad about Legends. We may talk about it next week if the flames rise on this new round of legending. However, man, you saw that deck of Space Marine data cards from last edition.
Mm-hmm.
That boy is thick boy.
Yeah, there's a lot of redundancy that they're trying to cut out, and what a lot of these units that have been legend is these are the units that have inspired the new Primaris model range, all the new tanks, all the new dreadnoughts, and everything. They're just updates to these models at the core of it all. In the core heart of all these new models is they're just updates to these old models. So it's kind of redundant keeping them around.
Yeah, and in a game that people are constantly upset that the balance is not good, right? They want balance, they need balance. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, for these things to have any kind of individuality whatsoever, they end up needing some sort of ability. And then now we've got ideas used up on stuff that, like you say, we have redundancies for. And some of those ideas might be better suited for other things, to have it a little just slightly tighter.
Mm.
I mean, it's got to still be the biggest range by absolutely what,
Totally, yeah.
one
It's
third?
it's.
Chaos Space Marines would be the second biggest, I imagine.
I don't even know if Chaos Space Marines would be the second biggest.
We
I
got
feel like
we got a lot of flavors of
I don't
dudes
know.
in boots, man.
If they're not second biggest, they're approaching it. The thing is, you've got the Space Marines, and you've got so many hands in the cookie jar pulling from that same range that just add like three more models to that entire range, and they're like, okay, we're a new faction.
Yeah, yeah, which is good.
And like, okay,
Um,
we're Dark Angels now. We added 3 models.
but the whole concept of legendary proxies I found fairly hilarious. Just because, like, what 7-year-old is this here to placate? You know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see how far we get down this. I think I want to hit the cheapest train and the XCOM saga. We could talk about our games
Okay.
anytime. Rooster Dog has appeared on camera if you are not listening on Spotify for best results. Check him out on YouTube. Uh, Austin, where is this? Where, where is this paradise that one might find terrain for cheap? It is not
Well,
gw.gamesworkshop.com.
now there's a magical place out there, and it's one of my second favorite stores to go to when I am leaving work. My favorite place to go to is a little place called Petco. It's
Petco.
where the pets go.
It is where the pets go.
Petco.
Sometimes Rooster Dog goes in there.
Yeah. So your local pet store is secretly the cheapest place to get wargaming terrain, unless you're like building stuff out of soup cans. Uh, so if you go down the fish aisle and you look at the aquarium decorations, you will see alien landscapes and xenoplants out the
And
wazoo.
and little tiny castles.
Little what? It'd be like little Smurf castles, I guess. You're fighting over the Smurf castles, but all kinds of little terrain pieces that even run by themselves or kind of doing some kit bashing on them can really spruce up a battlefield. And if we're doing 40K, we're already dealing with kind of some more fantastical sci-fi landscapes. So it might not be out of place to have some giant like land coral looking things or strange seaweed looking things on land.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
and yeah,
archways and
it makes
flat,
archways and ruins. It makes your table look interesting without breaking your wallet,
yeah,
and that's the secret.
and we're talking like crazy cheap, folks. So if you're playing on
Yeah.
your home table, if you're like us and are not that fussed about playing like the tournament nonsense, because why would you? I don't know why you people do this to
Mhm.
yourselves. Uh, Even if you do use the layouts, like those big coral arch things, they just fit. Oh, it was an
Yeah.
arch. Okay, well, you know what? Solid's a rule. Let's say you just can't see through the bottom. Ta-da.
Yeah.
You're gonna set them on your templates anyway. If you want, you don't have to.
And it's all pre-painted. You don't have to do anything to it.
Don't have to
Just
do
buy it, put
anything.
it on the table.
They got beads and rocks and everything else, so you can get scatter.
Yeah. Little signs that say no fishing. You could just stick in your deployment zone. Well, all kinds of little things.
Gosh, I hadn't even thought about like the objective marker game that they've got because they got little bitty stuff, like you say.
Yeah. Little SpongeBob pineapple for your space marines to bunker up in. Fire out the windows.
Do I need to go to the Petco and buy an entire table worth of terrain for us to play a game on?
I think you need to go to Petco and at least look because they've got some stuff. They got little mountainous, rocky looking things. I feel like there's enough there to get at least one thing for the table and say this is our alien planet terrain.
I like it. You've got news on the XCOM saga. So this is the XCOM
Oh yeah,
miniatures
the
game.
XCOM saga. I'm gonna have to pull this up on my phone because that's the only place I have a screenshot of it. But Modiphius Entertainment, who is producing the XCOM miniatures game, has responded to fan backlash about the prices and what you get in the box,
Yeah,
in the boxes for the different tiers. They've got, they say, more aliens, no extra cost. We've heard your concerns over the last 2 weeks. Due to the success of XCOM, the miniatures game, we are happy to announce that we are upgrading both the Getting Started bundle and the All in One bundle with additional alien boxes sets at no cost. If you have already pre ordered the above mentioned bundles or intend to order before the 1st of January 2027, you will automatically receive the additional alien sets when they become available. So they are responding to fan backlash about there not being quite enough to justify the cost in the sets. And they are really helping you guys out by including more aliens in the box, more models, more gameplay going on, more things to shoot at. And this is pretty cool. Some companies wouldn't do something like this.
yeah. There's a couple of pieces there. Like one, they're like, due to the success of the thing, like they say, one, we heard you. It's too expensive, and then they say, but due to the success, and I'm thinking, is there success? Because if the people are saying it's too expensive to the point that you need to do something, then that tells me that people said, I'd buy it if it weren't so expensive or if I got more stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a little bit of corporate business speak going on there, prepared statement.
Yeah. Maybe, okay, here's an idea. Maybe everything is so overpriced that enough people bought into the game that they're like, okay, we can justify throwing in some extra boxes.
That they could just cut profits.
They covered their over they covered the overhead of providing the starter boxes, so now they can go ahead and throw some stuff in.
I think that so help me remember the history here of this thing, because we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks off and on. Um, was it the community that clued you in on the XCOM game is way too expensive, or you're a big XCOM fan and you went and looked?
I think I had seen that the game existed and had been mildly curious of it insofar as seeing like being, oh look, a game. I never planned on getting it. But after seeing some of the prices and also kind of looking at some of the community backlash against it over how high the prices were, that's kind of where I kind of picked it up.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is, when you initially went and looked at it, you thought, "Woo, that's high."
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
all on your own without any sort of pollution from the angry mob. But then the rest of the
yeah.
mob was like, "No, that's outrageous," because it's not quite GW prices, but it's a damn sight more than non
It's
GW
pushing Games Workshop.
participants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
pushing it for what you get.
right.
No train, nothing.
I wonder too. This it obviously the all-in bundle, you were getting everything in the first place, but that starter bundle, I wonder, did they even have enough aliens in the thing to play the game?
I think
It,
there was probably just enough to play the bare basics of a game. Like you
yeah, that's
it's like in
super
40K.
lame.
If you can play 40K if you have two boxes. That's how you can play 40K. Just two boxes.
Yeah,
It's
five,
similar to that.
five Space Marines versus five Space Marines, and yeah, you can learn
You're
to hit.
playing. You're playing 40K.
Yeah, you can move around. You can learn to hit, wound, and save. It's going to take 5 minutes. Whoever goes first wins. Um, yeah, so that's good. You know, um, the podcast we were going to do today before this, before our Space Marines got on that juice, uh, was going to be about this sort of thing where you're you're buying a game that's coming out that you are interested in, but you're not actually buying it because it hasn't been produced yet, and this sort of crowdfunding thing, I don't love it.
Hmm.
But I'm glad they're trying to make it better. So we'll see. Um, that's been Austin. I'm Shane. We're going to have an aggressive title to this podcast over on YouTube. For best results,
Yeah.
listen on Spotify. Comment everything you think about legend stuff, about Space Marines getting swole, and don't forget to give us your
Many takes.